take a look at this weekend and said, I like the big time guys. I like the very tippy top players, the best players that you could possibly have. I want to know who they are and if Michigan can land them. And they just don't get bigger, figuratively, literally, than Justin Scott, the defensive tackle out of Chicago, Illinois. He's coming into Ann Arbor this weekend. I was going to tell you to lie. I don't want you to lie, but I don't want you to tell me the truth if you don't feel like Michigan has got a chance with them. What kind of chance does Michigan really have with Justin Scott?
Yeah, obviously, Scott is a big time prospect, 5-star guy. Those are always exciting, especially when you have guys like, Jaden Davis, who committed to the class. And Scott's been on campus before. He's been to Ann Arbor, and, he decided to come up for the official. So that's always a good sign, when you get a guy for an official visit and, he's building a good relationship with the coaching staff. And usually when, you have a guy that's making an official visit, that is one of your top few schools, because you're going there to kind of check things out, and you're getting into the process of, where you need to be with making a decision, what a lot of these 24 guys are. As far as Scott's case goes, I mean, there's some other schools that are in play for him, and in that Michigan, I hate to start this on like a bad note, because there's so many guys that Michigan are clearly in play for, but Scott's going to be a tough pull. I think he'll be a tough pull at the end of the day. But to have him on campus this weekend, the thing about these things is that things can change, on a dime, right? I mean, we could, for all we know, Scott could come this weekend and all of a sudden he has a really good visit, and Michigan, moves up at the top of his board. Right now, that's not something that I have an indication of, but yeah, I mean, anything can change. But to have him on campus, to have him there for an official is a good sign, and we'll kind of see where it goes from there.
Seth, you can be skeptical. Any pessimism that you bring, I want you to be honest about it, despite what I said earlier. I will balance that out with a lot of positivity when it comes to Scott, and try to, what do they say, think it into reality or whatever it is. It's close to that saying. Speak it into reality. That's what I'm doing when it comes down to Scott. But I don't want you again to make things up just to make me happy and everybody that's watching here. We want you to give us your honest assessment. All right, well, there's plenty of guys here. Let's go to the next one. Here's another guy that would just make everybody as happy as can be. And, Michigan, they've had some success down through the years in going down to Ohio, and specifically Cleveland. But Glenville is a hotbed for the Buckeyes. And Bryce West, I know that OSU really wants him, but right now he's up here in Ann Arbor. Can the Maize and Blue somehow influence West to come north?
Yeah, and I think West actually tweeted that he got to Ann Arbor last night, I believe. So yeah, he's back up there again for again, he's been up there multiple times to Michigan, to Ann Arbor, and he's checking it out this weekend for an official. This is one of those classic, I think it's going to be, it's a Michigan-Ohio State battle, right? Ohio State really wants him. And man, I mean, this would be a big lot. I mean, it would be a big win for Michigan to get Bryce West, which I think they do have a real chance at him here. But on the flip side, like if Michigan pulls him, that's a huge loss for Ohio State. I mean, just the way things have kind of been going the last couple of years, and Michigan winning on the field, and then if they could win this battle with West, with Ohio State, that'd be absolutely huge for Michigan. But in the past, a guy like West might be, it's between Michigan, Ohio State. It's kind of been, Ohio State's backyard. Maybe you think, in a few years past that, maybe there wasn't much of a chance here, and that it's just automatically Ohio State. But this group of commits right now for Michigan, the 2024 class, we always talk about coaches being great recruiters, right? And Steve Clinkscale and Ron Bellamy and some of these assistants, but these guys that are committed to the class right now in 24 are great recruiters themselves, and they've been working hard on Bryce West, and it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of this weekend, because there's a lot of people that feel there's a real shot that he ends up in Ann Arbor.
Well, that would be obviously great news for Michigan if they were able to somehow persuade West to accept the challenge. And it would almost feel like, you mentioned it, Michigan has taken care of Ohio State 2 times on the field, and things look good for this year. It would already this one. Jordan Marshall felt like a win, so that feels like 3 wins in a row. If they got West, that'd feel like 4 wins in a row. And then heading down and over to Ann Arbor for the game, it kind of feel like 5 in a row. So, yeah, man, the seal is broke, and it's a rush to Ohio for Michigan. Now, this is a player which he's got all the credentials here from rivals. Ryan Wingo, for those of you that are listening on the podcast, he's out of St. Louis, where Michigan incoming freshman Frederick Moore is from. But this guy's a 5-star. Everybody in the country wants him. Michigan just runs the ball every down. Why in the world would Wingo consider the Wolverines?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you look at the wide receiver situation with Michigan, because they're pretty deep on the current roster right now, and obviously you have Shannon Goodwin that's committed there right now. And there's a few other guys that they're looking at that they could end up taking 3 or 4 guys in this class at wide receiver. I don't think Wingo. I don't anticipate him being one of them. Like I said, we'll see what happens, and he's up this weekend, and we'll see how things go. But again, really high caliber player, a lot of competition. But there's some other guys on the board that Michigan that I think are much more likely, that we'll get into a little later. But yeah, I mean, whoever gets Ryan Wingo, I mean, they're going to be very pleased with the talents he offers to their program. And if that's Michigan, then that would be great for the Wolverines. But there's a board right now for Michigan that they're looking at, and there's some other guys there as well. So even if they missed out on Wingo per se, I mean, there's going to be no shortage of targets there. So it'll be a good situation either way, I think, for the Wolverines here at the wide receivers spot in 24.
As we sit here a few minutes past 1 o'clock on this Friday, June the 9th, talking with Seth Berry, Michigan Maize and Blue Review recruiting writer, 17 verbals for this upcoming class, 24. And I just checked it this morning. That is good for number 3 overall on Rivals team rankings for 24. And we're talking about possibility of getting 18 or 19. Are you ruling out, before we get to the next player, are you ruling out any commitments this weekend, Seth?
No, I'm not ruling out any. I think there's at least one that we'll get down to. I don't know where you have them actually, but yeah, that we'll talk about. But yeah, I think it's possible that you could see a commitment potentially this weekend. So we'll see where that goes. But I mean, there's other guys on here, that Michigan feels really good about, but then they have a couple other official visits scheduled, so they're going to want to take their time and probably go to those other schools and see what they're all about too, and kind of make a calculated decision. But yeah, no, I'm not ruling anything out in that regard.
One of those 17 verbals is a guy that's taken in the sights and sounds in Ann Arbor this weekend. That's Jordan Marshall. He also was one of those battles between Michigan and Ohio State that the Maize and Blue won that in years past. They wouldn't, but this is now a flip in the script of the 21st century. And, I mentioned, the Maize and Blue Review. There's that tease again, that you can get the Maize and Blue right now in full access today, and it's free until fall camp using the promo code U of M 2024. And I saw that Josh Henschke, the publisher, with a nice story about Marshall and what makes him tick. And I don't know if you saw that story because it's just moved this morning, Seth. But when it comes down to Marshall, guess what? He's a real hard worker and somebody that you start reading about and you're like, man, this guy sounds like he's going to be the real deal.
Yeah,
What do you think?
no, that was an awesome story. I think Josh spent some time with him. Went to his private workout and things like that, and really got a sense for how Marshall is, and like I said, what kind of drives him, what motivates him to be successful. And yeah, great story over there at Mason Blue Review, which is why you should get the free trial if you haven't, and subscribe to us, because stories like that are just really awesome. And it's nice of Marshall to be able to do that with Josh and kind of take him through his day to day and things like that. But yeah, really great story. And obviously with Michigan at that running back spot, they're looking for that prized Taylor Tatum. He's a running back that's on the top of their board right now, and he's not visiting this weekend, but someone, if you paired up Marshall and Tatum together, I mean, that would you're talking about another Donovan Edwards, Blake Corum 2.0 type of team there. So Michigan fans can envision that, and get excited about the potential of that happening too. So we'll see what happens there with Tatum as well.
Seth, that's like, I don't know. It's not burying the lead because Tatum is not in this weekend. But when you start talking about 2.0, Corum, and the one-armed bandit, I mean, that is, those cannons are firing right there. Just give me, it's off the beat, but give me a percentage that Michigan lands Tatum as you feel right now at 116 on this Friday. What's the percentage that you would give that Michigan gets Tatum?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to put, I guess, a percentage on it, but if you, I don't know, somewhere in the 40% range, I would say right now. I mean, I talked to another source that talked to them about Tatum a little bit, and they kind of said, I kind of asked, hey, what do you feel about Taylor Tatum, where he's at, and they said, the source told me that he was feeling Michigan, whatever that means. I mean, sometimes I'm feeling, chocolate chip ice cream and get Oreo, I mean, you could be feeling a lot of different schools or different, flavors of ice cream, whatever. So I didn't really know what that meant, but it sounded good. So, I'm optimistic and about Tatum and his chances, and we'll see where things go.
Hey, well, if they're one of those choices of ice cream, that's all you can ask. And 40%, that's not too shabby. Now, Michigan already has, I guess I could count them up, I think 6 off the top of my head. You can correct me, offensive linemen. And they've got Bennett Warren coming in out of Sugar Land, Texas. He's a monster of a prospect. I can't believe this kid's only in high school. 6'8", 318 pounds. Why is he coming in if Michigan already has a half dozen offensive linemen? Is there a chance that Michigan could take, 7? I guess I can count them up. What's the chance?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like they're potentially want to take one more. So obviously that's kind of the battle with this. There's other guys on the board there too that they're that offensive linemen have in their top list, but I think one more they could squeeze in there. We've kind of been asking like how or why, because this room is getting very crowded, clearly. But yeah, Warren's a guy that visited for the first time. I've talked to him actually several times. He's a very, very nice kid and very cool. But yeah, I talked to him a couple times even before, right when he got his Michigan offer, and then he came up a few months back, 2 or 3 months back, and visited Ann Arbor for the first time. He hadn't really been anywhere outside the state of Texas up until that point, one other school, I believe. And then he came up to Ann Arbor and was like Michigan is my top school, like top of the list, no doubt about it, for Warren. So that was a good sign. Whenever a kid can take a visit to a school like that for the first time, really not be outside the state, and then say, hey, Michigan's at the top of my list, then that's a good deal. Obviously, like you said, he's just a monster of a prospect at 6'8" and 318. And he is, I think if both parties say, hey, Warren wants to come to Michigan and Michigan really wants him, then he's definitely one to watch in terms of being a potential commitment to kind of round out that offensive line class. It's already pretty deep, to say the least.
Yeah, I said 5 because the last one was Garnera from Florida. They got the 2 kids from Ohio, another prospect from Texas and Blake Frazier. and then Sprague. So that's 5 by my count. So this would make 6. So they would take possibly 6. And yeah, man, 6'8", 318 sounds pretty good. Now the cheering that usually when Ohio State takes the field at Ohio State, you hear those boos, but this weekend you might hear some boos, but they're not booing. They're booing for Carter, like Lewin. Boo would be good in this situation, right? Boo Carter. Michigan fans really want Boo Carter. Are you ready to boo hoo here, or are you thinking they could cheer the possibility of getting Carter?
Yeah, Carter it's been interesting because there's a lot of people that seem to think Tennessee is the school to beat, which is very well could very well be true. I mean, he's built good relationships there, and it's a home state. It's kind of the home school for him. But he's going to make his decision on June 17th. And the interesting part about Carter was that Michigan's the only official visit that he's scheduled leading up to that point so far. So. And I actually talked to Carter for the first time last week at a camp at Wayne State, and he has some really he said the vibes at Michigan have been really positive when he's visited Ann Arbor. I didn't realize this, but he's visited. I think this will be his 7th visit to Michigan, which is a lot for someone that's coming from fairly far away, from Chattanooga. So. No, I think that he's kind of been a dark horse for me. When we did our 2 early, commitment, when we kind of ranked, who's going to come and just best guesses sort of thing. I had Carter there, just as a dark horse and someone that could commit, and talked to a couple other, Michigan commits that have really tried to push with him. He's really good friends with Jacob Oden, the Michigan 24 safety. He was his 7-on-7 teammate, and they have a really very good relationship. So, if Michigan were the school here, Tennessee is, that would obviously be no surprise. But if Michigan ended up being the school, it wouldn't shock me at all, because he's made some really good connections and relationships with Michigan. And he's talked about, how he texts with the 24 class all the time, and, how he, they're always talking in a group text and kind of talking about the possibilities of, them winning a national championship and things like that if they, if he were to commit there. So yeah, he's it'll be interesting to watch, and Michigan fans should be excited, when his commitment comes around, because it's possible. Michigan's in the mix here.
Boo! I love it. Let's go to a 4-star, and I like this name. I know recently you've been writing about Elias Rudolph out of Deerfield Beach. I believe that's where Shoelace is from, down there in the Sunshine State. A defensive end, 6'4", 210. Could probably put on a little weight, but does Michigan have a legitimate shot at Rudolph, who's in this weekend?
They do, yeah. And it's interesting with this the edge position. The board has kind of not expanded, but there's just been some guys recently that have come into the mix and are really high on Michigan, and Rudolph is one of those. Brian Robinson, the guy that was in last week, some people figured Robinson would be one to commit by now if he was going to, and that Michigan has always been high on his board, and that could still be the case. But even if they didn't get Robinson and ended up getting Rudolph and another guy, like there's guys there on the board that are that they're looking at that could commit and get a couple at the edge position. And Rudolph is one of them. He's a great prospect. Like I said, he's probably could stand to put on some weight. But that'll be worked on once he gets to Michigan, if he ends up committing, and things like that. So yeah, they really like him as a prospect, and he's on campus this weekend, and we're going to see what comes out of it.
Heck of a weekend. Let's grab some more thoughts while we have a minute or two more with Seth Berry. Dominic Nichols, also an edge prospect out of Maryland, 6'5", 245. He's good to go physically. He looks like he could step on the field immediately. Do the Wolverines, are they in good standing as Nichols makes the rounds in Ann Arbor?
Yeah. Michigan's in really good standing here. He just put out a top list yesterday and had Michigan in that. And this is a guy that Michigan has also been working on, one of the edge targets I was talking about, and they really like him as well. Another guy that Michigan is in good standing with here with Nichols.
I feel like Michigan can get everyone, but I know that's not possible. It just feels like that. You go into Andre Evans, says athlete, 6'1", 181. I'm going to put him at safety by just taking a look at his thumbnail. How about Andre Evans, who spells his name starting with an O, the big O on D, possibly at safety for Michigan?
Yeah, it was interesting with Evans. We were trying to get him because there were multiple guys at this camp. Me and Josh were at last week at Wayne State. Evans was one we were trying to get. It didn't end up. Those camps are kind of a mess. Guys are over here doing 77 at 1 minute, and other guys are registering and things like that. And Evans will be on campus this weekend. I don't have a lot of intel on what's going to happen with Evans. I just haven't been able to talk to him. I wanted to talk to him last week, and just didn't get the chance to. So Evans is a mystery to me right now. Just full disclosure, I'm not sure where he is kind of at as far as Michigan goes, but we'll try to get that information this week and kind of see where he's at as far as the Wolverines stand.
All right, I don't mind a little mystery. A mystery is how to pronounce this next guy's name. I'll give it a shot. David. Do you know how to say his name?
I say Pal, but I don't. I'm not entirely sure.
I think that's
how it's gonna be.
I'm gonna say Paley Pal, just because it breaks it up. It sounds like the best way. Pale. It certainly could be. That's the way it looks. But I like Paley Pale. It just, to me, breaks up and sounds good. What about? I'll use my own. I said it, David. Paley Pale, a defensive tackle, 6'3", 300, out of the Keystone State, Pennsylvania. He looks like he could be maize and blue. Yeah.
This is a guy that Michigan, I think, is in good standing with as well, and has a good chance. We've talked about a lot of edge guys, but these guys, in the middle of the line that are important as well. At 300 pounds, that's those guys are valuable as well. And I think him coming into Michigan this weekend, will be good for him. And again, another guy. There's so many guys that are in really good standing with Michigan right now. Like I said, it feels like they could land a lot of these guys, and this is another one here.
Shadyville thinks it's Pell.
Yeah, we're getting pronunciation, recommendations. Maybe
Pell,
that might be it.
Pale, Paley, Pale. Let's go.
Between
Whatever.
10 or 15 of us, that's maybe we can get the pronunciation at some point.
I'll make this guarantee: if he commits, I'll find out what it is, and I will make sure that I'm pronouncing it the right way. Well, we could make pancake and waffle jokes all day long, but Owen Waffle was at Notre Dame. He's got a Notre Dame hat on, but he's not with the Fighting Irish anymore. What about Michigan and Waffle?
Yeah. He, like I said, he decommitted from Notre Dame, and the interesting part about that is when he decommitted, it was kind of right along the lines of when Michigan, gave the offer, and that happened, and shortly after that, he scheduled an official visit to Ann Arbor this weekend, and Michigan is another guy they're in good standing with, another defensive tackle here, and we'll see what comes out of this weekend, but yeah, I really, really like him as a prospect.
Micah Capana. There's a part of me that wants this guy to commit, because then in the future, you could have Michael Capana and Cole Cabana. Capana. Let's go. Michigan, he's out of Vegas. I know Antoine really likes his tape. He has said so when he's watched it, but Michigan is it likes Taylor Tatum. Where do they fit in when it comes down to Capana?
Yeah, like I kind of mentioned, Tatum is for sure the number one priority there. But as far as Capana goes, I was talking to Josh a little bit about him too. We have some guys in the Rivals rankings that aren't necessarily ranked, or they don't have a rank yet. But obviously, when they commit, they'll shoot up the rankings and get a ranking. But I really like his game, and he would not be a bad fallback option at all if Michigan were to lose out on Tatum. Obviously, they already have Jordan Marshall, so looking for a second back, and he would that would be a good fit for Michigan there, I believe.
It'd be a good fit if Waffle comes in, because he could team up on the defense with Manuel Bagel out of Germany, who's in Connecticut. He's in for an official visit. And I think that brings us to, I guess we have more than one. I thought this was the last one. Amari Stewart, he has long been linked to Michigan. Do the Wolverines, are they still in a good spot here with the wide receiver out of Kentwood High School in Chicago, Amari Stewart?
Yeah, I think things are getting closer with Amari Stewart in terms of being able to potentially reel in a commitment there. Stewart is one. We talked about Jordan Ship, another guy who was on campus last weekend, and then you probably heard of Mekhi White, the kid that put Michigan. He visited Michigan and put him at the top of his list. Kind of like the same thing Warren did. When he visited campus for the first time. So there's 3 or 4 wide receivers here that they have a really good shot at. Stewart's one of them, and we'll see what comes out of this weekend. But yeah, he's long been on Michigan's board, and there's been a long-standing good relationship there with him and Ron Bellamy and things like that. So yeah, but things are looking good for Stewart and for the Michigan wide receiver class here.
Seth, 2 more players. If I had hair, I would do it like Jordan Johnson Rubel, who has indicated that right here that he is in Ann Arbor, a 5'11" safety out of Florida. I haven't heard much about JJR, but Michigan has him in here. He's highly rated by Rivals. Let's go.
Yeah, and I wasn't even sure myself that he would be in this weekend until I saw a tweet this morning. He wasn't on the board I had, so I think he's a surprise. It's not really a surprise, right? Some of them just don't publicize, what's going on or what they're doing until they tweet it out or whatever. But that was something that I wasn't aware of going into the day, and to have him on campus, I've heard some things about that Michigan's really, they like him as a prospect, and he's made some good connections there in Ann Arbor. So it'll be interesting to see, if we hear anything coming out this weekend with Jordan Johnson Rubble.
All right.
More pronunciations are coming in.
Yeah, I kind of like that last one, Pele. Okay. A question that comes in kind of from left field. Jaden Smith, a 6'3" athlete out of Charlotte. Any chance, this is a name that has popped up. I saw on Rivals, Josh Henschke mentioning Mr. Smith, Michigan, already cornering the market on Smiths in this recruiting class with the Smith brothers, Gerard and Jacob, I believe. What about Jaden Smith? Any chance that he ends up going blue?
Yeah. Jaden Smith just announced the top 4, I believe it was yesterday, and had Michigan in there. I think he was up for an unofficial visit to Ann Arbor last weekend, and is set to make his announcement for his commitment on Monday. So I think that's something Michigan fans will want to pay attention to, and see if he chooses the maize and blue on Monday. But he's high on Michigan, and Michigan is high on him. He's another one we kind of talked about. He's unranked on the Rivals rankings, and me and Josh were talking about, we're not really sure why, because he can do a lot of things. He's a really good athlete, probably playing the defensive backfield at Michigan or wherever he would end up. But I see he has 0 stars, but I don't think it'll be that way for long. I think Michigan really likes him as a player, and and that he could do some good things in Ann Arbor.
All right. Well, you said that you think Michigan fans should be paying attention. So, I'm putting 2 and 2 together here. I will be paying attention on Monday. I'll be paying attention all weekend long to the Maize and Blue Review to see Seth whenever you get on there and type send, because I want to see what you have to say. Thanks for spending so much time with us. Have a great weekend, and always nice talking with you. Take care.
Thanks, Dennis. We'll see you. Have a good one.
You too. There he is from the Maize and Blue Review, the recruiting writer, Seth Berry. And it is great to have him on. If you missed it and you're just joining us, well, you can always go back and watch what's going on. These are all on YouTube. Of course, the podcast, you can hit fast forward, rewind. You can just listen to it all weekend. When it gets done, just take it back to the beginning. And, you always hear me talking about, join up, Maize and Blue Review. Let's go. Michigan.rivals.com. How about this? Maize and Blue Review right now, free until fall camp. And you can get that full access right now by going to Michigan.rivals.com. This offer is valid for a limited time. Use the promo code UM2024. That's UM2024. It's great to hear Seth Berry. There's a lot of recruits. Big weekend for sure.